So what's up, fellow journeyers? Sometimes I do this 2 or 3 times, just ready? That one was too much. It's like, whoa. So what's up, fellow journeyers? If you've seen our last... Again?
Yeah, I thought you were doing it a few times, so I wasn't looking.
So what's up, fellow journeyers? So if you have seen our last couple of videos, you'll know that we have been on quite the journey. The biggest question, the most common question we've gotten is, why are you selling your RV? We're gonna answer what we can with that question for you guys. But first, some of you guys know, maybe you don't. This is our 5th RV we've had RVing. So we're gonna do some B-roll of the 5 RVs we've had. And bear with the first couple because I don't think we even have video for those 2. So it'll be some pretty epic B-roll.
This is our 2011 Earthbound trailer. It's 28 feet and it's a rear bunkhouse door.
So this is our 5th wheel. We're gonna give you a tour of our current RV that we're living in. We've been living in this Class A for 4 months now.
So this is our 31-foot Airstream Classic from 2008 that we live in full time.
This is the inside of our 2019 Open Range 5th wheel. We don't have a tour yet, but we will soon. Basically what it comes down to why we're selling our RV is a lot of the same reasons we sold our other RVs, because we're on our 5th RV in 5 years. So we're gonna walk through the 5 RVs we bought over 5 years, and we are gonna share, as we get to this RV we're currently in right now, we're gonna share why are we selling this RV as well. But to get to that point in the journey, we're gonna kind of back 5 years. I love doing that noise. I'm gonna let you do that. Can you do that noise?
No.
No, all right, only me. We'll go back to our first RV, because I think the mindset when we first started buying these, you can buy an RV for the memories, you can buy an RV because you want to learn and grow, or maybe you're buying an RV just for a change. But a big part of the philosophy we've had with buying RVs is we buy RVs with the end in mind, meaning that we buy RVs ultimately to think about, hey, one day we're gonna have to sell this RV. So if we go back 5-ish years, we're still in our house, actually maybe 6 years ago because it took us a year to get ready. We're thinking about RVing. We're like, we've never RV'd. Maybe we should like test something out or do something here.
What if we even hate camping?
Yeah, what if we don't like that,
Yeah. What if camping is not our thing and we've sold our house and bought an RV and moved into an RV?
And some of you might be in that same position. You're sitting in your house, you're like, what is the next step for me to take? And so our next step was, look, let's buy something that we know is not gonna be our forever RV, but we're buying it with the mindset that it's probably not going to be perfect. We're going to end up selling it. So let's buy it and not lose a ton of money was our thought. So we bought how the hell was that RV? Maybe 6 years, 5 years, something like that ish. But it was an Earthbound Telluride 28-foot travel trailer. Now, why did we buy that? First of all, we thought it kind of looked cool, looked kind of like a spaceship.
It was
I guess.
super cool.
The inside was like a yacht. So Earthbound's a company that was only in business a few years. They tried to crank up at the wrong time, and the recession was hitting, and just didn't make it. But we were looking for an Airstream.
Oh, we had
that's
an
what motivated
Airstream
us.
crush
from the beginning.
Yes.
So we wanted an Airstream, but we thought, man, they cost some money. But I found this other one. I said, because it's always a story, like, Marissa, look, I know we want this, but check this out.
We technically never lived in this RV.
True.
We bought this with the intention of trying out camping to see if it was even a fit for us while we were in that transition of, we've made the decision to go full time, but we still had to prepare our lives, our jobs, our finances, sell our home. Like, we were in that transition period that took about a year. So we thought, in the meantime, let's buy a camper, see if camping is even for us, and just kind of fill it out and see what we need, what works, what doesn't work. I think we quickly learned in that RV is there was no separation was a big thing for me. And going from a house to that small of a rig with no slides, with a little one. She was 6 weeks old when we bought this RV. So when we were going out and doing these camping trips, it was just very difficult with nap time when everything was just one tiny little room.
She says one room, but the layout, they have curtains, right? So even the master bed area just had a curtain, which a lot of your RVs will have separation there. But if so, a lot of you may be looking at travel trailers with the back corner space that has the curtain separation. But for us, we couldn't do dishes. We pretty much had to leave the RV like when she was napping, which was a lot.
Because she was so small.
And I think two other things too. It was, first of all, it's a shock already to downsize, but the downsize to little to no storage in this RV, we were just like, I don't know. I think this is almost too much of a downsize, too extreme.
Of a step.
And so we knew, we bought this RV. We turned around, we sold it. How long we have? Maybe 6 months, something like that, I guess. So we sold it, and we actually made money on it at the price we bought it at. So we sold this RV, made a little bit of money, took that money and what we'd already spent in the RV, went the other direction, and got a 43-foot Forest River Sandpiper fifth wheel. Again, kind of in that less than 5 years old range. It was maybe like 4 years old, something like that. And we learned a lot with this one. We solved a lot of the stuff. It felt more like a home. It had the fireplace and the big windows that let in a lot of light.
Oh, yes. We loved all the big windows.
Back. So it's checking off a lot of these boxes we wanted from the Earthbound Telluride. But then we had new boxes popping up of things we're like, oh, man, we didn't think of that. So some of the things we learned, a lot of them were a lot of more technical, mechanical type things we didn't know. We didn't realize, hey, there's a yellow sticker on these RVs that tells you the cargo capacity. Well, this thing only had who knew?
No.
You can't just put whatever you want in an RV and go down the road.
Again, we had never camped before. We had no idea.
That.
We had never pulled anything large, so that was a big shock too. Going from never had really, you had done a little bit on the farm.
Yeah, trailers and stuff.
But nothing to this extreme.
Again, we never looked for the yellow cargo sticker on the hay trailer. I mean, so but yeah, it had 1,200 pounds of cargo, which is not a lot for full-time RV living in 43 feet. So a lot of our cabinets were empty because you think, well, they got the cabinets, surely I can load them up. Well, I mean, to be safe, you really couldn't. So we learned that was wrong. I
would try to bring cases of water in, and Nathan would be like, "You can't bring that in here. It weighs too much." I'm like, "This water, it weighs too much." He's like, "How much does that shirt you've got weigh? You need to start getting rid of shirt."
I knew the weights on everything. Third one we bought was a 38-foot Newmar motorhome. It was same thing, maybe 5 years old, 6 years old, something like that. And it was gas with a V10. We went back and forth. Do we get a 10-year-old diesel or do we get a 5-year-old gas? We went with the 5-year-old gas. We did. We learned a lot of stuff from this motorhome as well. So it was shorter. That did help. It was easier to maneuver. We answered a lot of the things we struggled with the fifth wheel. So I think we're getting a little better, learning a little more every time. And again, we're buying. With the fifth wheel, I guess when we sold it, we kind of broke even. The truck, I think I made a little bit of money. So we're still, we're buying stuff with the end in mind, with stuff as we buy it.
Just trying to not lose.
Maybe that's a better, I don't know.
Yeah, instead of losing the depreciation, we were just trying to evenly trade out is our goal. I think with the motorhome, we learned the more bells and whistles you have, the more maintenance, the more things to break. Not saying bells and whistles are bad. We actually really enjoyed the quality of that Newmar. It was amazing. So we had all this cargo that I had never had before. 4,500 pounds of cargo. I didn't have to worry about anything anymore, which was what I had told Nathan. I just don't want to not be able to bring a water bottle in here, and you tell me I have to bring the water bottle out.
This was the first RV purchase we bought. I think it hurt to sell it. We love that. We love that RV.
It was because I feel like when we got in that motorhome, we kind of found us. We kind of found our groove. We found our passion for RV life, and I feel like we finally thought, okay, we can do this. We love this. We had gotten past that hump of is it us? Are we not is this
Are we
not the
not already
lifestyle? Yeah, is
losing
this
material?
not the lifestyle for us? Or I think we had finally discovered, okay, this is the lifestyle for us. We needed to learn a lot to get there, and we had a lot of information that we didn't know.
Well, what we learned with the motorhome is that we had a passion for state parks, national parks, and we could squeeze into some of those or park outside of some of those with a motorhome at 38 feet, but we really thought, man, we want to get into those places. The bells and whistles are nice, but I think it'd be worth it to maybe lose a few of those to get into these parks. So that's where where a lot of you guys have seen and loved, and man, we still miss it, but we made the decision, let's go back to the Airstream. 2 years earlier, we weren't ready. But at this point, we're like, you know what? Let's scratch that itch. Let's see if we're ready. So we went from a 38-foot motorhome to a 31-foot Airstream travel trailer, and it was great. It met, again, all those needs, all those things that we felt like weren't right with the motorhome. The motorhome, when we sold it, now we didn't break even on the motorhome. We just didn't, the demand for the gas high-end motorhome was not what we expected. So we lost some money on the motorhome. I think, kind of broke even on the Subaru and we sold it. But then we bought the Airstream. And then once we got in the Airstream, all these things were going right. It was good. And I think we honestly thought, if we get at least a year out of the Airstream, we'll feel really good about this.
The Airstream actually surprised us. Like, we thought, we thought we probably weren't cut out for it. We thought, well, how are we going to be able to live in this small space with no slides? And going from the motorhome to the Airstream, I was afraid of that.
Her face when I pulled up with that Airstream, she started walking.
Yeah, seeing the two side by side and just how low the ceiling was, I thought, what have we done? That was literally the thought that went through my head. So we were in the Airstream for 3 years, which was the longest we had ever been in an RV. And we loved it. Like, it brought in so much natural light. It was the first RV that we had put our own touches to, so I think that really helped me make it feel like our own, make it feel like home on wheels for the first time.
Yeah, and I think what happened, we moved into the Airstream, it felt maybe really small at the beginning and tight, but you got to give yourself some time. So every month it felt a little roomier, and I think maybe 1 year in, it took her a while, but I think
For me, I feel like every RV, if I gave it the 6 month mark, by 6 months, I felt comfortable with that space. So usually that's the advice I give everybody is like, just give yourself 6 months. Because
you got, at least 6 months. Well, so 12 months in, it started to feel bigger and felt fine. I think it kind of stayed there for 2 years, 2.5 years. And then it started to feel smaller and smaller. And I think it really started to feel smaller once we had JJ. And so JJ made
our
it
family
feel,
grew, so the space shrunk.
So what we learned with the Airstream was that, well, not really the Airstream's fault, but we learned that, hey, babies create a lot of laundry. We learned that, hey, babies are eventually going to want to crawl and move around, and babies require toys and stuff. And so our storage started to get smaller. The play area started to feel a little more cramped. Hensley was growing, and she was playing. She had no dedicated space. So if it's raining or snowing or cold, she basically had all her stuff in our living room kitchen area that we're walking around and constantly cleaning up. We tried it with the baby, but we're like, this just feels too small. Now we got to go bigger. And so here we are. We're like, what do we do? Do we go 43 feet? Do we go 35 feet? We were looking for 35 feet. But
we knew that was like one of the magical numbers to stay in those. A lot of your state national parks, like 35, you can still squeeze in them. So we really wanted to stay in that length.
We wanted it, but when you go from 35 up to 37, 38, 40, you start to get the washer dryer. You got the possibility of a bigger bunk area, and you're getting. There's a big difference between 35 and 40 as far as the layouts. And so we found this one, and honestly, and this is where this entire video is going. Sort of like some of the other RVs, with the Earthbound, with the fifth wheel, with everything along the way. We were not 100% in on any of these RVs. Now we got to 90, 95%, and we were buying it. And again, we sold the Airstream, and we did okay on the Airstream. We didn't lose money on the Airstream. We knew what we wanted. I think when we bought this RV a year ago, we were pretty sure the exact layout we wanted, but at the same time we weren't 100%. So we opened up our search to things like this and a couple other layouts. And honestly, we found this one, the theme here. We're buying something with the end in mind. We bought this one and
to try it out
and to learn, because even though we weren't sure if this is the exact layout we wanted, we knew we needed to try out 40 feet and to have the washer dryer and to have the open space and the bunk room for Hensley. And that's what this RV did for us. It let us try all those things out. But after being in about a year in this RV now, it answered those questions for us, but at the same time helped us realize some things that we want that this RV doesn't have. So I think first of all, we learned that I think we're good with 40 feet, 40-ish. I'll say 40-ish.
The extra space in this season of life has been worth maybe having to stay outside of things a little bit more.
More planning.
Yeah, and after we had JJ, we decided we maybe wanted to slow down a little bit and not move as fast. The Airstream was great because we moved quickly, and Hensley was, pretty small, and we could just go wherever. But now we've decided, she started schooling, and we have another child, and we just wanted to slow down a little bit. And so 40 feet is actually fit that pace of camping as well.
I think the size has been good. I think the washer dryer has been super valuable.
Let me just say this. This RV has made me fall in love with full-time living again. I feel like Nathan was saying, our walls were closing in just a little bit as our family was growing. I just had that room to breathe that I needed. The washer and dryer has been amazing, especially, with the little one and all the laundry. I love the residential fridge. Actually, that was something we weren't sure. We didn't want that in an RV, but after I've had it, I told him it's going to be really hard to ever get rid of a residential fridge, because it's just taken that one thing out of my mind that I don't have to think about anymore playing this RV Jenga, and the most home-like RV we've had, where I haven't had to sacrifice a whole lot to be in this RV, and it's made me fall in love with it again. I feel like I can breathe.
Yeah, the bunker's been great. That's helped Hensley kind of have her own little space.
Yes.
The king bed's been nice. I don't know if that's a have to, but that's been really nice.
It's been nice.
So we've, all the things we've said about things we like about this RV, and you may be sitting there thinking, well, then why are you selling the RV? But there are some things that, and we initially felt this way, but we thought, let's see what we can learn from the open range. I think where we're at with the open range 40-foot fifth wheel is that a couple of our big needs that we kind of thought we might have had in the beginning, we've been in it a year, but we still feel like those needs are kind of there. Number one, as far as the layout, I think we're looking for a little more separation from the kids to help us with JJ going to bed and Hensley going to bed. So we're looking for a more separate sleeping area for the kids.
They have a 5-year age gap. So I don't know, it's just been a little tricky getting him transitioned into her room without him keeping her up. And we want him out of our room.
How do I get out of our room?
So I don't know, we kind of got to that point where we do we push and have him transition in there, or do we just go for a more separate layout? The thing with RVs is, I know that sounds like a minute thing to make a complete change for an RV for, but when you have a small space, tiny changes in layouts make a huge difference.
And I think the other thing with the layout is I think we want a more open layout that's not, with just the recliners facing the TV. And there's not right or wrong. Some people are going to love this exact layout, and some people are going to want a more open layout that's laid out a little different.
More of a open kitchen living room layout. Yeah, I think those two things with this RV, a lot of it has gone right. We've learned a lot of things. I do not regret the purchase. Again, all these are meshed and tied together with the fact that when we bought this RV, we bought it with the end in mind, knowing that, hey, we're going to sell this one day. We didn't know if it'd be a year. We didn't know if it'd be 5 years. We weren't sure. Don't be afraid to make changes on where you're at, because this lifestyle produces a lot of burnout sometimes. And for us, I think a way of preventing burnout is to make changes as we have those needs. And that can be scary sometimes, making those changes. But I think we've really grown a lot, learned a lot, and that's what keeps us staying recharged and enjoying this lifestyle as much as we do.
So don't wait for the perfect RV. The perfect RV is the RV that gets you out there.
Absolutely.
Figure out, just know we're going to learn, we're going to grow. Begin with the end in mind when you're buying it. And man, just have a great time RVing, because it's exciting, but you got to have a realistic view of the things that are going on.
We hope you guys found this information and video helpful. We love you guys. We're rooting for you in your journey, and we hope you have a great week. Catch you guys later.